Hi guys, hope you guys are well. Hopefully, this will be the start of some cool book reviews from my side in this sort of format, video instead of written. But let me know. Um, so, I got this book, Wonder Woman Earth One by Grant Morrison and Yannick Pickett. This comes from the DC Compact Comics, which is really cool. So, I'll be doing a non-professional review. It's just my opinion. So yeah, let's go to it. In the end, I'll give you my opinion. It's just an opinion. So awesome book. There's a lot of content in here. It takes you through the story of Wonder Woman Earth One. Basically, it starts with a conflict where the Amazons are fighting against man in the literal sense, and there's a huge battle, and basically they they banish men from their island, and essentially they create a utopia paradise, which is seems to be working out for them, technologically advanced. Everything is going great. They have, you'll be wondering about the gender dynamic. There's no need for that. I think how they do it is, if they have contact with men, and if they have babies, they keep the female ones, and then they send the male ones back to the lands that they come from. So essentially, what happens is, they live their lives, and then eventually Wonder Woman Diana, she finds Steve, um, and he's a pilot from normal Earth, I suppose, and she rescues him and takes basically there's she hides him on the island, and she doesn't let anyone know, and then she basically tends to him and brings him back to health. And then, yep, then people find out, and then there's conflict in paradise, and then she decides she's going to take him back to mankind. So she leaves paradise. She takes Steve back to his world, because she can't treat him. He's dying. Her technology doesn't work on him. So she takes him back. That's a big problem, because now humans, well, the non-Amazonians, see her as a threat, and the military is called in, and basically uh, there's some conflict, and then essentially, uh, there's a military investigation with Steve, and Steve is trying to say no, they're not a threat, and unfortunately there are ulterior motives in the background. In the meantime, Diana is busy visiting the world, and she discovers all sorts of problems with our world, and she meets some new friends. She's not confrontational, she's just like observing everything that's happening. The military are keeping an eye on her. And then, unfortunately, her world leaks into their world. So that's the Medusa that her mom has sent. The queen has sent the Medusa to go get Diana back because she ran away in the first place. And there's that sort of conflict that's happening, and it's a mess. And then eventually she goes back to trial, where she needs to account for her actions, and she manages to convince everyone that this is the right um, action. And then they return her to. They tell her to go back if that's what she wants. I think that's what happens, and then she, yeah, and there's a fascination with Diana. Unfortunately, not everything goes as planned. There is an individual on the island, and this part of the story happens in flashback mode, which I'll just talk to you about a little bit later. And they try to reform this Uber uh, woman who is like a very superior type of human that was created in Germany. And she's very super strong and super intelligent, and just the philosophy is just wrong though. And Yeah, and then essentially what happens is we discover um, Max Lord. Okay, that's a spoiler, but essentially Max Lord is one of these military consultants who is proposing to the government that Wonder Woman is a serious threat and needs to be taken care of. In the meantime, Wonder Woman is gaining popularity in the world, and she's enjoying herself and learning about everything, giving lectures, etc. So it's like a TED Talk type thing. She's friends, but she still feels like there's something missing, and she still has communication with the Amazons and her mom or the queen. And then it starts taking a more not so nice turn. So they send her on a mission to rescue this man, and essentially he starts getting involved with her. And they seem to have like some sort of connection, but unfortunately, all these things have some ulterior motives, and we find out that this guy is actually Dr. Psycho, and he's trying to manipulate Diana to get information of how to get to her island, and also to mind control her, which we'll see later. And essentially what happens is there's some things happening there. And then eventually there's some bad things that's gonna happen, and then Steve gets there, and it's a total mess, and the queen dies, and this is the turning point of the story. Now war breaks out. So the Uber woman kills the queen. Diana goes crazy, a little bit crazy, because she's also under mind control as well. She's inciting violence. She starts the war. Max Lord steps in and says, yeah, we don't have the technology to defeat the Amazonians, but hang on, I've been working on something that's going to help everyone, and I'll reveal it in time. And then essentially the war starts, and Diana basically has to seek out alliances from the other alternate realities. Well, not alternate realities, but different parts of reality. So she goes and she convinces her other neighboring types of realities to come and get themselves involved. That's the death of the queen, and she basically rallies some forces. Here's another peoples that she knows about. So this is also a woman-based society. And then essentially I'll just skip quite a bit because there's a lot of political drama and a lot of like commentary on things, which I'll talk about. And essentially there's a war. They use these giant Ares robots built by Max Lord, and you find out as well that Max Lord is Ares. And basically there's a grand war that happens, and it goes on, and eventually they win at a cost. And Diana, there's a part where she goes into the underworld to find her mother, but she doesn't. They don't work like that in the underworld. The underworld works very differently. They don't abide by the laws that are above ground, so she essentially gets kicked out. But she does find her mother. Max Lord brings war. They find Paradise Island, they bring the war to the island, but eventually they get defeated. There's another story that happens where there's another world that's being politically destroyed, but that also kind of gets oppressed in a way. Um, yes, and then eventually they escape. There's like a system on Paradise Island that allows them to escape. Um, and then what Diana does do is she creates, or she takes some of her mom's DNA, which was in the heart that the Uber woman had ripped out from the queen's body. Um, and then essentially she uses the technology on the island to recreate or rebirth her mother, the queen. And yeah, that's it. And then there's some nice artwork and concept designs in the end, and that's the whole book. So my opinion of the book is it's good. I would give it maybe a 7.5 out of 10. um I didn't I liked the story. I didn't like the way it was told. There was a lot of flashbacks and also like alternate shifting between the different stories, which got me a little bit confused. It took me about a month to read in total, but that was in between work and family responsibilities and stuff. So it is a bit complex. You have to like pay attention to what you're reading, and then story is great, easy to follow. You may have to read one or two times, or go back one or two pages to reread what you just read. I didn't like the flashbacks and the cutting between the past and the future and the different side stories that were happening. I thought that was confusing, a little bit hard to read for myself. Um, this is a different version of Wonder Woman, so just giving you a warning, it might not be the one that you're used to. Um, Art is really good. I enjoyed the art. In terms of themes to talk about, I would give that like maybe 11 out of 10. So there's a lot of gender commentary in this book where Wonder Woman takes an external view of how our world situation is and what's fair, what's not fair. There's no right or wrong answers, but very good topics to discuss and to think about. So philosophically, this book gets like 11 out of 10. So a lot of things to think about and to introspect and extrospect, if that's a word. Awesome book to have in the collection. um, Quality of the book, yeah, it's okay. I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. I mean, the pages are okay. The colors are kind of dulled down a bit. Paper quality is not that great. It's not the glossy type of paper. In terms of value for money, 11 out of 10. So you're gonna get like a lot of content, full story in this, and then it's just I think I got it for like 250 rand or 290 rand. I can't remember. I don't even remember where I bought it from. But yeah, value for money, awesome. Quality of the book, yeah, it's okay. It is. And remember, it's a compact size, so it's smaller. Thanks, guys. I know it's a long video. I'll hear for comments if you think it should be shorter, longer, more condensed. But for now, enjoy. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I hope